Okay, so we're live here. I want to thank everybody for coming to my channel. I'm Trevor, and my channel is Pioneer Spirit. Title of the show today: just how is anyone affording to live in Canada anymore? Uh, I mean, September 11th, 2023. I'm almost 51, and just every time I go grocery shopping, it's more money and less product in the shopping cart. Like I don't even know what I don't even know what to do anymore. I just the flood of videos that I watch from people that are just talking about how much money they make, $30 an hour in Canada, and they're crying and because they can't. They're paying a mortgage, they're paying rent, either one, maybe a car payment. At the end of the day, there's nothing left. And these are, people who are, just plethora of videos coming out. Like I myself, it seems like the being a middle class Canadian is just it's slipping away. It's slipping away. It's becoming a class of wealthy and poor people, and I just don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. Uh, like at what point? Like I'm 51 years old, and I sometimes think we're gonna start living with my like more family members. Like how many people you see here saying, "Well, I got to move back in with my parents." I see millennials, younger people than myself, just talking about living with their parents again. People that are in their 20s that have gone to school, that have they say they get decent jobs, and they still can't afford to move out. Right now in Canada, the average rental price is $2,000. Uh, that it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what you get now for under $2,000 is pretty junky. Um, I think of a trailer I lived in, a mobile home in British Columbia just 5 years ago. It was like 800 bucks. Now the prices of those places to live are now 14, $1,500 for mobile homes. I mean, this is out in the middle of nowhere, out in places where to afford to pay for those kind of places is it's ridiculous. Like you don't make enough money living out in those places to pay for that kind of rent. But there's where we're at, and I don't know anymore. I don't know, like, at what point do Canadians just like I don't know what to do some days. I'm like, you go spend like I spend $300 at the grocery store. I look at what I get, and it's like seems to be, again, the reduction of products in your cart, the amount of no-name products. Uh, what's the solution? I know a lot of people are saying, we got to get rid of Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland. I mean, yeah, we do, but and then again, I come back to the question of government. You replace one flavor of government, Trudeau, whatever flavor he is, and replace it with who? Pierre Poilievre, another flavor. The core thing that needs to be changed in Canada, UK, United States, it's not changing the flavor. It's actually addressing the government because basically, government is like a shithawk, and on the left wing, and you have the right wing, and they're both attached to the same shithawk. Okay, we need to change that. We need to change it. We literally need to come up with a better solution for people to live. I mean, the solutions seem so easy, I think, to most people out here. Like in Canada, for example, I mean, we got to make energy cheaper. Well, we cheaper energy, affordability. I mean, just through energy alone, like heck, I sit here and go, well, if I was in Trudeau's position, I'd I'd be ramping up nuclear power plants to make energy cheaper for commercial and residential homes. Make fuel cheap. Like currently in Canada where I'm living, and it's more expensive in some places, maybe a nickel less than most, but it's $1.60 per liter. Now, if you're watching this right now in, say, the United States, 1 liter is equal to 3.79 of your 1 gallon. So, at $1.60 a liter, by the time you multiply that and then add in another, 30% because your dollar's stronger than ours, I mean, we're paying like $8 a gallon. Americans would be, out of their minds. But at what point do Canadians stand? Like, how, when, when is it like there's the destruction of the middle class? That's exactly what's happening in Canada. And again, and lately too, I'm watching Rogan's podcast and just the plethora of videos coming out on immigration. And there's, I'm worried that immigrants are going to be the next kind of scapegoat, and politicians are purposely making this because they've screwed the economy, so they have to blame someone. Politicians are constantly trying to blame someone through the Mr. 19. People who didn't get Mr. 19 were blamed for, oh geez, you didn't get Mr. 19, so you're gonna be hurting grandma and grandpa. And we found out even if you had 3 Mr. 19 jabbies, you still could. It wasn't. You could still, it was safe and effective, and definitely helped to get you through Mr. 19. But we did, the spread and transmission and catching it and transmitting it we're still there. So, and now I wonder about the amount of immigration you see in places like the UK, Canada, United States is it's not at levels that we used to have. I mean, now just open borders, anybody comes in. Um, and I feel like those people are going to be perhaps a scapegoat. And I really don't like that because I don't want anybody hurt. I don't want anyone hurt. Absolutely nothing. But at what point do you, when there's people coming into Canada, say, and there's not enough housing, so now that drives up the rental prices. Then you wonder why rental prices to get a just 1,000 square foot place, it's like $2,000. So because there's just supply and demand. There's just the supply of people in Canada is too high. The demand with housing, there's not enough and not enough. So people have to. Everybody has to live somewhere, right? You have to live somewhere. But if you're coming to Canada, here's another thing too. Like I worked in for 20 years in 7 hospitals in Canada, and I used to like to talk to people from other countries, right? And just ask them like about their lives and whatnot. And a Filipino worker I worked with in the operating room, he was in the housekeeping, and I asked him what did he do in the Philippines. He says, "Well, I was a general surgeon." So I think, is there no way that Canada can maybe test someone coming into Canada if they're a general surgeon and just test their levels and see if they're qualified and they're a good general surgeon? Why not let that person come to Canada and be a general surgeon then? Another person, another fellow I worked with, he was in housekeeping, was a nurse in the Philippines. It's just, you know, and I'm like, well, what do you, again, is there no, it seems to me, and I don't, it seems to be the ongoing challenge too. You hear people like, oh, I'm from, India and I was a doctor there. Now they're a cab driver. That's the common, scenario there. So again, why can't people want to come into Canada? I mean, I think it is beautiful people coming here, but uh, you should come in with some kind of skill, right? Like like people are just coming in here willy nilly, and it's going to create a lot of tension, especially in the United States. Come that 20, 24 election, I wonder how many people that have come into the United States are going to disrupt the economic flow in America. Like, I believe if you're going to come to a country like the UK, Canada, United States, you come to these three countries. Um, I mean, if you're coming here for political asylum, oh, sure. I mean, there's that. There's that. Just but you come to a country for you bring economics. You're bringing some skills. Uh, yeah, but we're being absolutely flooded with people. It's too much. and and then if someone comes here and then they're like, well, I can't find a job now, or I find a job and they're like, geez, I'm a unskilled worker. I've just come to Canada and I get something, Tim Hortons or something like that. Then they find out really quickly that they can't afford to live here. So you do, you see a plethora of videos of people saying, well, I'm going to leave Canada. Um, like leaving Canada. I'm almost 51, was born in Canada, lived here all my life, and never have I wanted to leave Canada more than, at least in the last 4 years. I want to leave. Would like to go to the United States. And going the legal route and presenting yourself with your skills and everything, that's a challenging process. I've actually had people laugh and say, well, you might as well fly them to Mexico City and go up to the border and hand them your family's phone number and just have them call there, and then I can come in. And I mean, that's a terrible way to enter a country. I think you should bring something. Um, Especially a place like Canada, United States are founded on immigration. But it's just too much too fast lately. And I don't know. It's just, it's making things extremely difficult. The cost of living, people, even people coming into Canada are just like, they're making videos like, why did I come here? This isn't the land of dreams. This isn't the land of milk and honey, maple syrup, I guess. It's quite difficult. It's quite challenging, and for everybody, whether you are coming here and you're like myself, 51 years old, Canadian. I've never in my life struggled so bloody hard just to maintain a home, to buy the groceries, to pay the bills. I just don't know. I'm thinking a lot of videos. Well, most of the videos I've seen are women crying, sitting in their car, in their home, saying, "I've got to move back in." You got women my age. The video, at least the videos that I've seen, the women are it's making $34 an hour, sitting in their car crying on their lunch break, going, I can't afford, eating. They get barely afford a cheap loaf of bread. Then you've got younger people, the millennials and Gen Z, I guess, talking about they can't live out, they can't move out of their parents' home, and that creates tension. And they want to move out, but they just, for financial reasons, they can't. So what is the incentive to stay in Canada anymore? Like, I would love, just today, pack up, boom, move to the United States. Um, Now I know if Americans watching this, you're like, oh, America's got its problems too. Yeah, but you know what? Your cost of living is so much cheaper. It's like I say, you'd be paying like $8 a gallon. That's how much gas would be in America right now if you did a conversion from Canada to the United States. And I know people who are struggling, to pay $3.50, $4 a gallon. Well, double that price. Now imagine your cost of living. I mean, gas prices have got to be managed. And how do I think that we should separate the government from the economy? That would certainly help. Okay, that would certainly help. Get rid of the government and the economy. Okay, and let the free market decide what the price of gas should be. And I guarantee it's not going to be, right now in Canada, like a buck 60 a gallon or a buck 60 a liter. Okay, when you can't afford, when you got to sit here and go, okay, I can barely afford to drive to work. Or you have to, like, situations right now in Canadians, and sometimes this comes into play in our household. I'm being very honest here. Like, you have to sit here and go, well, okay, I have to forego this bill this month, or I can, I gotta, push it an extra couple weeks. I know that you get those nasty emails saying, hey, you're late on your payment. Yeah, you're thinking, yeah, I know, but it comes down to choices of food. Do I pay the hydro bill late or just not pay it at all this month? At what point do Canadians just, like, not get to the point where, look, I gotta eat, I gotta buy food. Everybody, you know, um, which is astronomical. The prices of food. I look at something, just like cans of tuna are almost double the price. Cans of zoodles, everything's double the price. Meat, okay, you can get, like, meat prices like $25 will get you 1.8 kilograms of chicken breast. I mean, it's ridiculous. Steaks, you get three steaks for what, 35 bucks. Triple, triple A Angus steaks, three of them for the. I mean, you used to get that a lot cheaper than $35. So, people are buying. Well, I want to eat meat, so then they're like, well, buy a pack of hot dogs, which is really, not super fantastic either. So, I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know what to do anymore. Sometimes, like, I think about at 51, I think, geez, I had more money in the bank at 17 years old. Sometimes, like, it's really hard now. I mean, especially when, like I say, $300 to go, and I go to, not promoting Walmart. I don't, necessarily love them or hate them, but it's the cheapest place in my little town here in Canada that I can buy food. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, cans of beans used to be like 80 cents. Now they're like a buck 50. And I, I don't know anymore. I'm like making a plea. I'm trying to figure out, like, even if you're making $100,000 in Canada for the household, sure, you can do fine, but there doesn't, there's hardly any money left over for anything else. You want to go on vacations? I sit here and think, yeah, I'd love to take my family to Arizona or Wyoming or something. Florida. Take my daughter to Disneyland. Well, these are like astronomical prices. I mean, there's no disposable income for that anymore. It's like I'm making a plea. I can't. Canada, like, again, I've never in my life wanted to leave Canada more than, like I say, in the last few years. COVID taught, Mr. 19 was a perfect example of, I compare Canada to the United States, and like I say, I never really thought of, like, all my family, my parents, like, just example, were born in Canada. Okay, they're 80 years old. They became U.S. citizens 20 years ago in 2003. They became U.S. citizens. They had moved there in the 90s because they're like, hey, even in the 90s, my parents realized that this, we can make more money in the States. And I don't care what anybody says, healthcare in the United States is far better than the healthcare in Canada. Okay. Look, my parents. Okay, like, here example, my parents have, owned their own business. They're capitalist, free market, enterprise kind of people. Okay, they're in their 80s now. They're fully retired. My dad pays $9,000 a year for his medical insurance in the United States, and they, for my both my mom and I, and they're like, yeah, we get everything, get better health care for paying that, um, than you would in Canada. Now, here's the kicker in Canada. If you made $100,000, like I said before, that's pretty good in Canada, but it's not the reason why there's hardly any money left to do things like, hey, go to Disneyland. It's because you're paying 25 to almost $30,000 of that goes to health care. And what do you get in Canada? Long wait lines at the emergency room. You want surgeries, takes months on end. Um, I'd rather pay I'd rather voluntarily be able to pay for the healthcare that I need. At 50 years old, the healthcare I need today is far different than the healthcare I needed when I was 25. Okay? I need glasses now, okay? Don't have to wear them too often. I need them to drive. I was 25 and I need glasses to drive. So I need different variations of healthcare for, 25 to 50 years old to, my parents who are 80 years old. Okay. But it doesn't matter. I'm like, you make $100,000. Hey, 25,000 of that is gone. Boom, right there. So if you're an American, imagine you're making $100,000 a year and you paid 25, 26, $27,000 a year for your health care. Okay. And I've asked Americans, you can American answer me on this one too. You I mean you'd have the cream of the crop for health insurance and you don't have to spend that much, okay? Like I say, my parents retired now. Old people, $9,000 a year is what they pay and they get the best of the best. They okay? Um I'm not saying American health insurance is perfect, but I can't, anecdotal perhaps. But again, my mom had cataract surgery. She had it. She just went in, booked it, boom, done. The other eye done. Canada takes, it takes longer. And again, the problem with healthcare too, the problem with any really government program is why should I pay for someone who's elderly to have their cataracts done? And why should I pay for the 19-year-old who breaks his leg skiing? And why should anyone pay for my health care? I should I should be responsible for it. Okay. This is the issues I have, and it all comes back to again, like how is anyone affording to live in Canada? How is when you think about things like the cost of government doing things, it's just astronomical. So, healthcare, perfect example. So by the time, like I say, by the time you're done paying all your bills in Canada, there's nothing left over anymore. There's absolutely nothing left over. And it's again, I wonder, FDR, perfect example in the United States, president saying that, eh, you know, nothing's random when it comes to government and politicians and politics in general. Everything is planned out. So then I start, you start reading quotes like that from this guy, like presidents aren't elected, they're selected. This is back in the FDR days. If that's true, then I'm like, starts making me think, well, was COVID selected? You know, was it planned out too? I don't know. The economy's going up and down. This is why I'm an advocate for separating government. I mean, government from the economy, because people are like, "Oh, let's separate government and religion." I'm like, oh, okay, let's separate government from the economy to make things better. Okay, and then I come out with ideas. I don't know. Can government be a voluntary run organization? I don't know. Like I can voluntarily, and I'll pick on Walmart again. I can voluntarily stop going to Walmart. Okay, they don't come to me 2 months from now and say, "Hey, you haven't been here. What's going on?" They don't knock on my door and say, "You need to pay us whether you come here or not." That's the problem with government. It's not voluntarily run. You don't have options with government. This is why I'm an advocate for some kind of voluntarily run government. Can it be done? I don't know, but it's an idea I try to put out there. It's my solutions because I sit here and complain. I can complain, 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 like the cost of living, the cost of all this. Well, that's why you come into my channel. I'm giving you ideas how things can be voluntary. Like things are voluntary in your life. You voluntarily enter relationships. We try to do as much in our lives that's voluntary. Nobody likes coercion. But yet again, I'll come back to the Walmart thing. Walmart doesn't come here. You don't pay the government, well, they'll come knocking on your door saying, "Hey, you owe us money." So I'm thinking that's not how life should be run. You can voluntarily go to Walmart. You can go to another grocery store. You can go to your local chain, local delis, local butchers if you don't want to buy your meats at Walmarts and the big conglomerate kind of stores. So that's how I think the economy should be run. And if we're going to have social contracts, um, I would use the American United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. Those far exceed the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that was instituted onto us in 1980 here in Canada. And we all found out that you barely have. I didn't. That thing didn't work during Mister 19 days. It didn't work. And what's to say a government doesn't pull the rug on Canadians again and take that charter rights and freeze them, just use it as toilet paper again on us for the next emergency. And this is why, again, like I really think, man, it's time to get out of Canada. It's time to get my family out of Canada and get to somewhere in the United States and choose a state. For me, I'm going to choose a state that has low taxes, that's business friendly. I'd love to open my business down in the United States, and I would pick a state that again, it has low taxes, that would have a governor or politicians that are try to adhere to their state constitution, the federal constitution. Um, just try just pick a state that's somewhat libertarian, and kind of like, you mind your own business, we'll mind our own business, and hopefully you do good in your business, and we'll support you in any way possible, uh, for business purposes. I mean, it's funny, and during the Mister 19 era too. Like in Canada, it didn't matter if you were in British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, like New Brunswick. You pick a place. The federal government said, "Here's our Mister 19 rules, and this is how it's going to be." And every jump 10 feet. In every province, jump 10 feet, and some provinces jumped even higher. But in the United States, this is where I admire at least the individual states were like, uh, states were like, hey, no, they after a certain amount of time, very shortly, they learned that, look, we're going to open up our state. We can't, we're not flattening the curve. You're only flattening our economy. And then some states, ramped it up even higher. Unfortunately, California, to me, geographically one of the most beautiful places, but it's crushing its own economy. It's crushing people. uh, you've got people that are just are leaving in droves from California because of the high tax rates. There's less freedom. Again, I find too, that's the Second Amendment is a beautiful thing. There's another thing, choose a place in the United States that's 2A friendly, first A friendly. I mean, you need the freedom of speech, and it's paramount to a civilized society, and it's backed up by that second A, right? So I would pack up and leave today. This is why I named my channel Pioneer Spirit. I believe in a reinvigoration of the pioneer spirit in America could comes from people like myself. Is that, I don't know, maybe it's egotistical. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I want to bring prosperity. I want to immigrate to the United States in a legal way. Okay. I want to enter and go, hey, here's my business. Here's what I have to offer. Oh, okay. I don't want to offer Canada that anymore. And it's surprising when I think about, I start thinking about Canada. I'm like, there's, you look at the United States and Canada geographically. I'm like, I could live somewhere in like northern Arizona, which is practically the same as somewhere like southern British Columbia where I lived. Or I could drive a few hours south and be, in Mexico on a beach. And Canada. we're basically everyone lives within 100 miles, or I guess about 240 kilometers from the U.S. Canadian border, right? Canada's just it doesn't have it anymore. Like I'm to the point where I'm like geographically, it's just it's not doesn't entice me to stay here anymore. Financially, I mean, again, like the title of the video, how can anyone afford to live in Canada? I don't know. Okay, and again, like I say, I do all my family, my parents, all my family, siblings live in the United States, and they, uh, family that was born in the United States from my Canadian siblings. uh, you know, none of them like it's not like my parents say, hey, I think we'll go back to Canada. The only reason why my parents would come back to Canada is maybe to buy a cottage and live here, maybe a few months of the year. But that's it. That's it. I just I'm desperate. I almost I feel desperate, but I don't know. I'm not gonna break down crying, but there are so many videos of people crying, saying I cannot bear to live in Canada anymore. And again, like immigrants come here, and then they find out very quickly that they can't afford to live here. You know, and they're like, I was a doctor back in India. Then they're thinking, well, maybe I'll move back to India because it was just, the life was no better, no worse. But at least, I'm doing something. I was a doctor, and it's better than mopping a floor in a hospital or pouring a coffee for somebody. I just, I just don't know anymore. Like I know, like I said, I do have, my eyes are wide open to Canada. My eyes are wide open to the United States. And to me, I almost think that the United States is like the last bastion of freedom. And I know there's Americans that have told me, no, it's not. But I'm like, I have researched it. I have family that lives there. They're not coming back to Canada. Um, and like I say, if anything ever came back to the world again, like a Mr. 19 episode, again, there's going to be states that are like, hey, will come out with some policies, but they're all voluntary. You want to put a cover over there, you can go ahead and do it, but you don't have to. We're going to come out with some, some Mr. 19 polkas if you want. You don't have to take it to, like in Canada for like I can't afford to live in Canada. I can't afford to stay here in another emergency because Canada, you wanted your job. Now Trudeau and the boys are coming out saying, and the girls, and whatever the 50 ever genders there are, and coming out saying that, oh, it was all voluntary. You could keep your job in Canada. It was no, I'm like, no, you couldn't. Trucking, for example, I had phoned around to different places saying, hey, you're hiring. That's great. They're like, hey, yeah, come in. But I don't have Mr. 19. Oh, the closest I got was a company saying, well, we'll hire you, but our customers require, you know, our truckers to have Mr. 19. So it's like, they're not going to hire me. You can't work in a hospital. I worked for 7 hospitals in Canada, okay, for 20 years. And I went through many different things. 1996 to 2016, there was many things that I worked through: SARS, swine flu, Ebola, every year influenza. Okay, I've never had an influenza shot. It's just my personal choice. It should be voluntary. And back in the day, when I got real sick, I wouldn't go into the hospital for a couple of days. I would just wouldn't go in. And then, maybe by the third day, I'm like, geez, I want some chicken noodle soup or something. So I'd go to the grocery store, and then you run into a friend. Hey, you don't look so good. Haven't seen you at work. Oh, I got the flu. People just laughed it off. It was never. Oh my God, get 6 feet away from me. Better put a mask on. It was just, what happened to those days? I don't know, but I guess my that's gonna be my video for today. It's just can't afford to live in Canada anymore. Got to get out. Gotta get out. Gotta get my family out of here. And like I say, the last bastion of freedom, economically, for social contract, I suppose too. The United States is like the last bastion, and at least in the United States, you have a variety of states to choose from. You can live if you like a particular set of policies, live in this state. If you don't, find another state. So I guess that's going to be my live stream for today. How can anyone afford to live in Canada anymore? I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I know that $100,000 income sure doesn't really have much disposable income anymore. Certainly not as much disposable income as like when my parents were my age. I don't know. Don't know what to do anymore. But I do know what to do. I knew we got to get out of Canada. That's the key. Get out of Canada, head to somewhere in the United States, and bring economics, bring prosperity and freedom to the United States. Like I say, my channel, Pioneer Spirit. Bring that pioneer spirit. That's what America was founded on. Pioneer spirit. People left Europe. People like that was a big deal. 200 years ago, almost 250 years ago, 300 years ago, they're leaving, and it was a pioneer spirit. And I believe that spirit needs to be reinvigorated, and I can bring it. But the route to get in there, it's either a long one, a hard one, or the easy one. Just fly to Mexico and then what? Phone my American U.S. citizen parents now and say, "Hey, I'm coming up," and then what? Be allowed in now? That's a stinky way of getting in to any country. Um, so that's my I think that's going to be my show for today. All right. So thank you very much for watching.